Hello YouTubers, welcome to the workshop of the Jack Pine Savage. Today's video is going to be about my drill chucks. Had a question on it from a subscriber, so that's what this video is going to be about today. I did not use all of the video that I shot when I was working on this because I had a couple of these DeWalt drills. My original plan was to use the one off of this chuck, but the spindle mechanism, the locking mechanism, didn't work to lock it, so I couldn't get this one off. I even tried tearing the whole thing apart, but it's junk. But I did manage to get the one off of this drill, and in the video I show how to make a handle and mount it on here and get it off of there. So without further ado, let's move on to making something cool. Okay, let's try this again. See if I can't get this thing to break loose. Got the right size torque spit now. There we go. Ooh. Bent the tines a little bit. That bad boy was in there now, I'm going to tell you what. Remember that those are left-handed threads, so you go the opposite way of normal so you get them out. So now this one, the spindle has locked, so it'll be easy to get this, should be easy to get this one off. Trying to get this one off, that spindle wouldn't lock on there, and I think that one's going to be junk. Not going to be able to use it, but this one we should be able to do. So let me go get a big Allen wrench so I can take that chuck off of there. I'll be right back. Okay, you know what, I'm not going to need this vise up here now, so let's take that off of here real quick. Alright, now, here's what you do to get the chuck off. If you ever need to change the chuck, or if you're, like this time, we're pulling one apart so that we can make something useful out of it. You lock your spindle, you put in an Allen head, and you give it a whack. Well, that's the theory anyway. Let's try that again. There it goes. Boy, that bad boy was on there. Okay. Now, we got a chuck that we could use on the lathe. So, now, there's a couple different things that you can do. First of all, let me grab a couple of the different ones that I have. This was the first one that I made. This one came off of a 1/2-inch Harbor Freight hammer drill. I bought the Morse #2 Morse taper on eBay. I think it was about 20 bucks because I got the one that will fit with the drawbar. It's got a 3/8 16 hole, threaded hole in the end, so you can, when you lock it into the lathe, you can run a drawbar in to pull it in nice and tight. That can be handy sometimes. And this one has a 1/2-inch arbor on it, which I think is what this one is too, because yeah, that's definitely bigger than the 3/8. So before you go and buy your Morse taper, make sure you get your chuck off, because some of these have different size threaded spots here. You know, it'll take different adapters to hook it up. So make sure you know what you need before you order it. Otherwise, you're just going to be basically wasting your money. So in this case, though, I think what I'm going to do with this particular chuck is I'm going to make another one like this. This was one that I made. I actually bought this chuck, but I got a really good deal on it. We've got an Amish hardware here where I live, and he had a surplus tool sale, and this was a $20 check that he let me have for $6. And then I just had to spend, oh God, I think it was 75 cents or something like that for a 3/8 bolt. And I cut the head off and sunk the bolt down inside with epoxy into the handle that I made, and then just threaded in epoxy to this on. So that is not going to come off, but it is so handy when you want to drill something, because you can just put the drill in. You know, you put the wood in the lathe, and then you just run this. It goes right up the center. Small tools, if I got a small gouge, pointer tool, something like that, I can interchange. It's just a quick change handle. Very, very handy. And I'm going to make another one of these with a 1/2-inch drive for a little bit bigger stuff. And I'm in a woodworking club. I might donate one of these to the woodworking club when I get it done. But yeah, that's basically all there is to it. Once you get the chuck out, you can either make a handle like I did, or you can, you know, buy your Morse taper and mount that in. And it just, this one is just turned in there. We locked it in the vise, and then, you know, threaded that in there with a little bit of Loctite and locked it down just as tight as we could get it. And I have not had a single problem with this thing. I have done some pretty serious drilling, even with large Forstner bits, using this on the lathe, and absolutely no problems whatsoever with it. So, you know, and this cost me, well, it was a chuck out of a drill that burned out, so that didn't cost me anything. And this cost me about 20 bucks for the Morse taper with the drawbar hole. So, you know, if you look online to buy one of these that has a drawbar hole, 1/2-inch drive, they're going to start at like 30 bucks, I think, or more. So, and I had the satisfaction that I made it myself, so that's always cool. But yeah, there you go. I may show in some more of the video here, you know, making the handle and doing that for this. Well, we'll see. At least we got that chuck off of there. So, alright, thanks for watching. Okay, I got that piece of cherry chucked up in the lathe. Hopefully you guys will be able to see what I'm doing. I don't really have a very good camera set up yet for doing lathe instructional videos, so this is just so you can see how I'm doing it, and if you want to try and do it this way, I guess that's up to you. Let's see, the first thing we need to do is we need to get a hole started in the end of our blank here for the arbor for the drill. Let me go grab my drill arbor. I got my starter, center starter. Just what I need to do is kick the camera, right? Where I'm at on speed, so let's just start it off slow. There we go. Yeah, just center drill this a little bit. Okay, shut that off. Now what I like to do is pull the tailstock right off for now. And let's put in we'll use the one that I already made here. Oh, nope, I'm not going to be able to do that because this only goes to 3/8 and I need 1/2 inch. Okay, well, scratch that plan. I guess I could do a small one first just to show you guys how this works. That'll give me a good one to, good path for the bigger drill to follow. There we go. Now the other thing we do need to figure out is how deep we need to go. So to do that, let me pause this for just a minute. Okay, so here's the chuck that we're working with, and I've got the head cut off of that bolt. This will thread on here. And then what we need to do is set the drill to a length, mark it on here, how deep we need to go into the wood there. Now this also, if you notice, has a shoulder here. I'm going to go in a little deeper to compensate for that as well. Make that fit nice and tight. So just mark it to the depth of that, and then once we get in there we can run in a little bit extra to compensate for that shoulder. So, alright, start this off. There we go. That's how deep we need to be. That works pretty slick, I'd say. Unscrew that, done. Put it back in the bits. That one is good to go. Now I'll get out my 1/2 inch. For this one I will have to pull my tailstock back up and put it in the other chuck. Maybe. maybe not. Okay, we can do it. Get that up in there. I'm just going to lock that down once I get it started here. Okay, that's the end of the quill. That squealy noise, that means that I need to wax that a little bit. Okay, little Johnson paste wax. I ought to quiet that down some. Harder. I think we should be at the bottom. Well, I didn't realize that my phone ran out of battery, or out of memory rather, so there's a bunch of this that missed. I got this pretty well all turned, and just gotta do a little sanding on it now and cut it off, and then epoxy that in, and it'll be done. It'll be good to go. Oh yeah, put some finish on it. That'd be a good idea. But just thought I'd show you that. Missed the part. I hollowed out the end here a little bit for that recess to fit in there, and this is all going to get filled with epoxy and just mounted on there, and it'll never come off. If this chuck ever fails, it's going to be pitched in the fireplace or in the junk, because that ain't going to come off of there when I'm done. But I do make a nice handy tool though, I'll tell you, and they're not that hard to make. But yeah, just thought I'd give you this quick update, and I'll bring you back when I'm getting ready to do my, I guess we can do it, sand it and finish it now. Okay, I got it sanded down to 320 now, and I did that off camera because I'm limited on memory space there, and sanding is just kind of boring anyway, so no need to take up all the memory showing you guys that. I'm sure you've seen it a million times. It's not that hard. Just start coarse and work your way to fine. But next thing I did want to show you was I had seen a video a while back about making your own abrasive grit compound, like Yorkshire grit. So I made some, and I really like how it works. I call mine the Hinkster grit. I gave some to the club. They all love it. But yeah, you just put some of this on here, you just rub it in. It does kind of put a nice little pre-finish on it too, but it's kind of a pasty, waxy stuff, but it's got abrasives in it that, like the Yorkshire grit, they break down as you work with them, so you get a successively finer and finer cut, and it smooths it out real nice. But yeah, you just spread a layer of that stuff on there like that. It doesn't really take a lot. And then I'm going to set this to spin at about between 400 and 600 RPM, somewhere in there. So that's about 520 there. A little more than that. There we go. And use a decent amount of pressure, and just start at one end and kind of work your way across. Take your time and work that stuff in, let it break down and smooth it out. And that's pretty much all there is to it right there. Flip it over to the clean side. Peel off any excess that might be on there. Very good. Alright. And then I call this stuff triple O and W because it's got 3 oils and some wax in it. Just a friction polish stuff that I made. I don't know, it's probably not the best in the world, but it seems to work pretty good. Put some of that on there, and I started off a little bit slow just to get it on there. Now for this, I do like to spin it up to around 1800 RPM. Get a little friction to it, build a little bit of heat, so it doesn't feel like it's about to burn your fingers. It's not working good enough. But this, you want to get this hot because that's how the wax melts and penetrates. This has teak oil, walnut oil, and mineral oil in it. Exactly what the ratios are, I'm not sure. I made an attempt one time here a while back to mix beeswax with teak oil. I saw on YouTube somebody use that. I wasn't too pleased with the results I got, so I melted that down and added in some mineral oil and some walnut oil, because that's what I had on hand. Got it where it's kind of a nice creamy paste when it's at room temperature. Makes it easy to work with. Seems to work pretty good. There we go. There it is. But yeah, there's a nice little handle right there. I think that'll work just fine. Now I just got it parted off. For that, I like to use my sharp pointy skew. Make sure you guys are still recording. Yep, okay, good. Now I'll just take that over to my little belt sander and sand the nib of that off and put a little bit of wax on the back side, and that part will be done. Okay, so there you can see I got that little nib sanded off of there. Make sure, yeah, it's in the camera. Good. I'll just take my same rag I used for waxing that up and just add a little bit to the end there, and I call that pretty good. That'll work good enough for the tool. So I don't want to wax this, but one thing I am going to do, because I actually made that hole a little bit too deep, I'm going to pack a bunch of shavings down there so I don't have to fill that cavity in with epoxy. So I'm just going to take these same shavings that come right off of that wood and pack some down in there. I think I might have packed too many in there. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm back down to being fairly snug up to that. Alright, let me move the camera and get ready to do the epoxy, and we'll put this bad boy together. Okay, I use Gorilla Glue 5-minute epoxy. When it comes in these tubes, it's supposed to be, you know, you squeeze them together and they're tied together so you get the same amount out on both sides. That never seems to happen, so I just cut mine so I can squeeze them out separately, and I can measure by eye to get the right amount. So that's how I do it. If you ever have that issue, you could certainly take that idea and use it yourself. Try and get equal parts there. Actually work. I got more than what I need, but that's okay. Guess it's better to have too much than not enough. Smear some on there to start with. Smear it on here too, just to make sure I get good coverage and good coating over everywhere. Want it to lock on good. When I'm doing pens, I do that with the super glue to my tubes too, to make sure that I get good adhesion all the way up. Still got a little bit left here, so let's add some more onto this. Get it all the way up and around. Then we want to get it up there. Like I said, wipe off. And let's see how this works. Yep, there we go. Now I just need to find the clamp so I can clamp that real quick. Okay, I got a clamp. Let's see if I can get this clamped in there so we can get a nice tight joint on that. It might be a little tricky with this thing, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I don't need a ton of clamping pressure on that. I just need to keep it squeezed together so the epoxy can keep the gaps filled and keep it tight. So that ought to work. And yeah, I'll leave that clamped on there for probably a couple of hours, even though it's 5-minute epoxy. I'll make sure it gets set real good. And then the tool should be ready to go. Good to use. I'll come back and show you that when I got it all dried out. Thanks. Okay, so here's the completed handle. It's been clamped up for I think about an hour and a half before I just took it off. I don't think I would use this until I let the epoxy cure for 24 hours just to make sure that it's good and solid and not gonna give way. But you know, hey, for drilling on the lathe, or you know, if you've got some small tools, you know, lathe chisels that require an interchangeable quick change handle, yeah, this would work good for that. I think I would stay away from any kind of hefty bowl gouges, you know, interchangeable bowl gouges with this. Just because you want longer handle, and for a bowl gouge I would want to make sure I had a good amount of the shaft of the gouge, you know, buried in the handle for stability, because there's a lot of torque that goes onto a bowl, especially if you're turning anything of any size. But yeah, I mean that's how you do it. Take the chuck off the drill and mount it on a handle. Yeah, this one was a 3/8 drive, or took a 3/8 bolt. This one took a 1/2 inch. If you want to use one with a Morse taper, you could definitely do that. Just make sure you get the spindle size of your chuck before you order your Morse taper. And you just a little Loctite on there and run it up in there as tight as you can get it, and yeah, you're good to go. Real handy. Pretty much a necessity for anybody doing any lathe work to have a chuck like this on the lathe. I definitely would recommend having one on a Morse taper that you could put a drawbar in. you know, and then also a drill handle like this it just makes drilling a lot easier. Once you get the center marked, get it started, you know, with one of these with the center drill tap, you know, then you can run through and go up through different sizes, whatever, and it just makes it easy to change the bits to different sizes. But yeah, that's how I did it. That's how you can do it if you want to. Just remember, whenever you're doing something on the lathe, safety is your responsibility, and work safe. Make sure you read and observe all your safety precautions. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for visiting the workshop of the Jack Pine Savage, and we'll see you on the next video.